everyone. How's it going? And welcome to nice, warm, hot spring weather outside. Be a nice day to get outside and finishing up. Hope your projects are going well and everything's coming along because it's our last month and we're done. We're up to young adulthood, which is nice because as we were going through those developmental themes on Friday, um, it could be a large age range. Some people jump right into it at 17 and 18, going to the military and becoming self-supporting. Other people have extended adolescence, a blessing of being like taken care of through college, or foster care pays for college, and then maybe even a scholarship in grad school, but that also may begin early adulthood for you. So Erickson has you as turning outward and focusing on relationships with others. So the stage of change is intimacy versus isolation, and that's very common. The two critical development tasks are economic independence, so if you're paying for yourself, and also independent decision making. So other themes that come up as, we went over emerging adulthood with Arnett. Neither adolescence or young adulthood is a period of exploration, which you can often get in college. Transitioning into adult roles, experiencing love, work. Sometimes people get engaged in college, even married, and worldviews, and then feeling of in between adolescents and adults, like when you do get married and start paying for all of your own stuff. That economic independence is huge. File your taxes jointly together or married. That's a big piece. So I know some of you were covering the different necessary tasks in your presentations and papers, which I'm enjoying looking at online, however you present it. And then your final papers, I'm looking forward to reading your final papers coming up in the next few weeks here. So Erickson and Levinson's theories of adulthood, like you're more likely to have a sense of who you are. Levinson says you focus on choices in love, occupation, and friendship. It's also your novice phase of development. People may move into the adult world and begin to build a stable life structure. Change and instability in the novice phase mirrors Erickson's ideas of role experimentation. So maybe even trying to see if you could live on your own, away from your parents, living together with your spouse. Some people will call it playing house, like learning how to pay the bills, take over, and just start emerging in the world is one of the theories from Levinson. Carl Jung has the first stage is from birth to middle age. You're integrating the intrapsychic dynamics and the conflicts with the external environment. And then second stage is self-realization or consolidation. And you start to emphasize spirituality. So this is where, if you graduate from college or you're done and you don't have that community anymore that you had in high school every day, then in college, at least every week, and or online, it has gotten easier with Facebook and Instagram and things online. But this is why Carl Jung emphasizes spirituality at this stage of life, because that is your new community a lot of times. People that look for connection, outreach, people with similar ideas and whatnot, you find them at your place of spiritual worship, at the temple or the mosque or the church or any of that stuff. Now, in the middle of the chapter, we get into what's called the biophysical dimension, so your brain development. There's connections between the emotional and motor centers of the brain, and also prefrontal cortex is stronger and almost fully developed. So this is now getting away from when they say don't make any major choices or life decisions until your prefrontal cortex is completely finished developing, because we can have a crazy, more of the craziness from it. Let's see if I can get this to focus for you, because it doesn't look great on my end with the lighting, that is. But if I turn it, it seems like it could help a little bit. Right there. So also the substance use impacts changes in the gray and white matter of your brain. And remember, we're on chapter 8 if you're trying to look up what we're going through, slide 7. Substance use impacts the changes in the gray and white matter. It lowers your psychosocial motor speed, sequencing ability, sustained attention. So drinking and smoking can slow you down, and it does burn up the gray matter in your brain, the white matter. Also, your metabolism slows, so there's an increased interest in health conscious behavior. Like that's when you start working out, doing the keto diet, eating 80% fresh greens. I used to do Atkins diet, but now it's called keto. You put your body in ketosis. Lots of protein and working out, things of that nature. And then also, it's the ideal time for women to become pregnant due to mature reproductive system. So a physical peak at like 23, 24, 25. People are getting pregnant later nowadays, though. They call it a geriatric pregnancy after the age of 35, but you're good up until from 23 until 35. Any strengths and hazards? They have some of them being cancer, and then also the other health disparities. Men are get sicker than women and die sooner. Women seek healthcare providers more often. So in terms of depression and whatnot, they have more effective coping mechanisms. Also, there's biophysical strengths and hazards of socioeconomic status is strongest predictor of health, really for anyone, but they mention minorities, African Americans, predictor of health with either unprotected sex or drug use or stress. Those are all challenges on our health that come up. So things that keeping a lookout for, that are really important to keep a lookout for. Also, the formal operational thought. So Piaget, males are more effectively use past experience. And this is like not universal, they say. So post-formal thought, the researcher there is LeBeau and Veef. They say that pragmatic thought, where logic becomes a tool for solving real-life problems. So even cognitive behavioral therapy and doing things of that nature that help. On the psychological dimension, you have communication versus miscommunication. So there's differences in male and female communication. Obviously, that's why we have therapists, marriage therapists, and whatnot. There's also a difference in communication, but there's also based on sexual stereotyping. So be aware of just stereotyping. There's also instrumental communication, identifying goals and finding solutions. And then expressive communication, so expression of emotions and sensitivity to others' feelings. The nonverbal communication, so this says total feeling conveyed in a message. 7% is verbal feeling, 38% is vocal feeling, and 55, excuse me, is facial feeling. So nonverbal message has the greatest effect. And that's kind of where people say text messaging can really be detrimental because you're not there in person to see that 55% of facial feeling, the nonverbal message. Now, there's a snippet here on happy versus unhappy couples. So, comfort in sharing information with the other person and a willingness to recognize and resolve conflicts as they occur, and a quality of the couple's sexual life. Those are the three components going into happy couples. A famous researcher in marriage and family therapy is known as Gottman, Gottman. It's on the PowerPoint slide. I know it's not in great view, but this is slide 11. Gottman predicted which couples would be divorced 3 years later based on how partners related to each other. So he can see what you have in common, what you're doing for communication, how things are communicating well, and what is or is not communicating well. Oh, that's a little bit better. We'll do that. Now, on attitudes, emotions, and regulation, love is the most prevalent emotion in young adulthood and takes on more meaning. So what is love? It's sexual in origin and in motivation, spontaneous and voluntary, and not directly under our control. It's an emotion appropriate only between equals. And his last slide says that love is blind. Love suppresses activity in the brain responsible for controlling critical thought. So that can be tough, because sometimes we do miss like triggers that are coming up with folks that we are dating because love is blind, and you kind of like knock out any red flags or warning signs that are coming up. There is lots in relation to that we're getting on here. Another one of attitudes, emotions, and regulation. There's the triangular theory, so that's 3 components. Sternberg has 8 types of love relationships. One is intimacy, warmth, and closeness. Another is passion, which is intense feelings, good and bad, including sexual desire. And then another is commitment, which is a maintenance of a relationship despite difficulties. So that's some of the attitudes, emotions, and regulation on the love slide. Now, in the psychological dimension on non-love, there's no components. Consummate love has all 3 components. So liking is like intimacy, commitment is like empty love, and then passion is more of infatuation. And there's also fatuous love, romantic love, and companionate love. Some of the other things that come up later on in adulthood is the onset of later mental illness. So young adult years are one of the most difficult periods in a person's life. Decisions have a great impact on their life's trajectory. So one is serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia or even depression, late onset. It's increasing among college students, and it's a leading mental health problem for women. Why? Ruminative coping skills or avoidant and passive personal styles. So if you're not able to take care of the problems right when it happens and ruminate on it and overthinking and getting depressed. Also, additional risk factors, young children, unhappy marriage. If you have either one of those, you're more likely to be diagnosed with depression. Now, the other psychological strength and hazard is grit, which is passion plus commitment. So people who are very self-disciplined and score high on measures of persistence and passion towards their goals are high in grit. Like if you are set on getting that bachelor's of social work finished on time and your master's of social work right thereafter, or your license in social work right after you graduate to get the job, you may have grit, passion, and commitment. And then also this increases with age and is associated with positive performance outcomes. So the better you're doing, the more you're finishing your grades on time and maybe scholarships from high school and college, the more grit you may acquire. Like, I want to do this. I know I can do this, and I'm awesome. And I see a lot of you in this class doing that. So that's good to see. Now, in the social dimension, there's marriage. Most people still marry. However, more people remain single or cohabitate, but at older ages. So you could live together. They say a lot of people get married if you're graduating from high school or college or grad school. And after married, live together. Or if you're older, you just go ahead and skip the marriage and live together and cohabitate. There are more people that are single today because of a higher divorce rate. It's more like 55% divorce. So adjusting the marriage, overcoming the marriage myths. You've got to prepare and enrich your inventory. So 80 or 85% accuracy, which couples will be satisfied with their marriages, examines 4 relationship issues. And this is, again, going to the Gottman website on marriage and family therapy. So you want to look at personality, intrapersonal, interpersonal, and then external things that are going on. Those are all the stuff that can affect your relationship and marriage, if any of you are in long-term relationships now. Also, remaining or becoming single has increased dramatically over the past 25 years. So since 1989, we see a lot that overall less happy than married people, especially men. Lack companionship and socializing opportunities. That's why I mentioned the Carl Jung stresses spirituality, where you can meet people of similar mind and or a mate. Good network of friends can eliminate these concerns of being single. Gay relationships are approximately 10% for both sexes, male and female. Aspects of intimacy they value are similar to the heterosexual relationship. They may not get some recognition as a real commitment, although since the court ruling in 2015, I think there is recognition and insurance and things. Homophobia and internalized homophobia are still coming up nowadays. Also, with transition to parenthood, so the top 3 stressors are money, children's behavior, and then insufficient couple time. Children of gay parents are similar to heterosexual parents. There's an increasing number of couples who are childless, so 10% of women choose not to have children. Infertility is at 10 to 20% nowadays of couples who are unable to become pregnant after a year of trying. Sometimes that includes miscarriage, and other times it may not even include conception. So options are adoption if you do want kids, fostering, foster to adopt, and foster care. And tons of people do that lately. The social dimension, there's work life, significant part of your identity. A balance between leisure and family is a challenge at this stage. Many jobs are still gender oriented. That's in the work life part. And there's also some multicultural considerations, which I'll get into next time. I'll start with them this time. But Native Americans, they mention that many of their unique problems stem from a history of discrimination, broken treaties, and prejudice. There's poor academic attainments, which is only about 57% are high school graduates, and extremely high unemployment rates. Language problems have affected progress and stereotypes promoted by TVs and movies. So we'll get into the next ones next time. We may have a interview for the directorship of our social work program. So if any of you are interested in attending that, it's on Wednesday. Email myself or Dr. Allen so we can get you connected with that. Looking forward to your presentations. Again, anyone who wants to do it in person and have me film it because you're having trouble accessing the digital stuff, just let me know and I'll be here. Probably Friday this week is the best time if we're having the interview stuff. And going from there. So let me know where you're at, how your final paper is coming, if you have any questions on the final presentation or the final paper, which are the two biggest grades to finish this class. So have a good middle of the week, and I'll see you all soon.